Welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. We are fortunate to have on the line with us our guru of basketball, Coach Van Pettaway. Coach, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, Doc. Doing fine. Now, it's another great day that he has allowed all of us to be here, and I'm just happy and I'm rejoicing in it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we are rejoicing. We have, for the most part, one final game of this regular season. And in my case, I'm kind of glad to see this one come to an end and stop the suffering for my men. But the women are still, got great strides and hopes alive for this tournament that's going to be coming up. But we got some things that we're going to have to discuss today, Coach. The potential of adding the 76 teams, the potential format change projected for Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball next season, and Dartman is going to be voting today on whether or not they're going to unionize or not.
Yep.
It's a lot going on, huh, Coach?
There's a lot going on in college athletics. The landscape is continuing to change. It all started with that NIL. Well, no, it all started with the portal, then the NIL, and then now teams trying to unionize. Yep, it's a big difference now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Day.
Well, it's a new day, but the same object of the game is to win more than you lose, that you can advance, right?
Yeah.
So I guess before we go any further, we'll get caught up on Monday night's action. Kind of what I was looking at, but some slight surprises in everything that took place.
Well, on the women's side, I mean, that juggernaut is still there. I don't know who or what. Maybe they need to combine teams and put together an all-star team and go after Jackson State. But the Tigers are continuing to show people that they are for real. Of course, they were in Texas, and they took care of your Panthers 75-65. Texas Southern, they tried to play some inspired basketball as they beat Alcorn 71-63. And then, of course, Southern defended their home court, beat Florida A&M 67-61. And Grambling, they're the surprise team on the women's side. They finished Bethune-Cookman 64-54. So on the women's side, to be honest, it's business as usual.
No doubt on that. In that case, like you said, what can you say that they're consistent, very well stocked, and we know that Coach Reed is worth every cent that she's getting paid right now. When you look at their total makeup and how they got things rolling, as they would like to say, how do you even try to stop them, Coach?
Well, you number one, you got to play mistake-free basketball. You got to be able to survive their depth. See, that team is so deep, and when they talk about experience pays off, she's got a veteran ball club. When you look at that roster, Puckett and those ladies, they've been together for 4 or 5 years now. So they're used to winning. That tradition is there. It's going to be tough. I just don't see anybody in the SWAC being able to deal with them right now.
Right. Well, the true test is what is their potential striking mark outside of the conference in the regionals. Correct. We've seen this in times past, but it's something about this squad that gives me a little different look that they might be able to do a little damage in that first round of play.
Well, I think they just need the right matchup. They don't need to be a 16 seed. If they can get out for that 16 seed and draw somebody other than that number 1 seed, I think their chances are a lot better.
Well, look,
but
probably listening.
But there are going to be 7 other teams that are going to say that they're not going to represent the SWAC.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Someone listening right now said we didn't already crown them champions. Dennis Green. Well, go ahead and crown them then if that's what you want to do. But, I mean, you're not discounting anyone, but you just can't help but notice the excellence that, and this is not a fluke, this is not a one-year wonder. It's been consistent, and you're just looking forward to it. Now, they could have some some good knockdown dragouts in the tournament coming up on next week. And we know that anything goes in that matter. It's all about matchups. Even though they're favorable in each potential matchup they'll have, I can see another grind out with Pine Bluff. I can see another grind out with Grambling even, with how they're looking right now. Is there anyone that would be considered a dark horse that you like the way they match up against Jackson State, even though that seems like a tall task?
Right. Well, I'm going to be honest. The teams that I've seen, no one has their depth and size. So I think it's a moot point. I think everybody else is doing what they're supposed to do. They're scrambling for seeding because on the women's side, Grambling has a strong second, and that's about it. You know, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Southern are 11-5. Alabama A&M is 10-6. Then you got PV, Florida A&M, and Alcorn still trying to get into the tournament. So it's going to come down to, I said this a few weeks ago, it's going to come down to the last Saturday before this is all settled in terms of seeding. I don't think we got to worry about who's going to be number one seed on the women's side. Right.
Now, when you look at these matchups coming up on Saturday, some will actually be playing on Thursday as well to end their season.
Right.
Well, when you look at this women's division, Coach, looking into your crystal ball, not that I'm going to hold you accountable or your feet to the fire, who do you see them possibly winning to finish out these seedings for the women's division?
Well, I think Grambling will be solid at number 2. Southern has a tall task. They come to the state of Alabama this weekend. Their biggest matchup is going to be on Saturday when they come to play Alabama A&M. That'll be a big game. And then I think you got to watch Arkansas Pine Bluff going into Longman, Mississippi. Alcorn State is playing a little bit better on the women's side. And then, of course, your Panthers have got to play their rival. They got to go to Houston. They got to go up the highway. So I think that's going to be a big game.
Right. When you look at the positioning of it, the last I glanced at it, technically on paper they had probably like 6 or 7. They still need to win this game.
Yes.
But it's so, as you say, so jammed up at that lower tier. The scenario, and I'm being a little biased here, that the Panthers were not to make the tournament would have to be what?
Well, I like your Panthers' chances because I just don't see Florida A&M doing anything this weekend. So see, you're battling Florida A&M and Alcorn State, and I just think that they both have games that may not be in their favor. I mean, when you look at it, Alcorn has got to be able to play better basketball. They got Valley. That's going to be a rival on Thursday. So that's a big game for Alcorn. And then when you look at Florida A&M has to make sure that they got their rival game in hand against Bethune-Cookman. So it's going to come down to the rivals. It's going to be big this weekend.
Yes, sir. And that's why we draw them up like this, for the excitement that it adds toward that final stretch. Now, of course, we got the women. It's pretty much an easier fix, if you will. But when we hop over to this men's side of things, it's a little bit more complicated. Not as complicated, but it's still some great possibilities in determining things.
Right.
I know Grambling was awarded, the championship on Monday for the regular season, but you still got some final adjustments.
Right. You got Southern and Alcorn and Texas Southern. It was a big game last night. They're all battling for 2 through 4, and that's still up for grabs. And then, of course, you still got Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Man, they're all battling just to get in the tournament. So these games are going to go down to the wire. There's not going to be any let-up. I think one of the biggest things that happened this past week, the first one, I'm going to go back to Huntsville. Alabama A&M had their first sellout in the event center. when they hosted Alabama State. They had over it's a 6,000-seat arena. They had over 6,300 people in attendance, and that was a great sight to see. And then, of course, I thought Southern had a hiccup. They lost to Bethune-Cookman at home. I did not expect that. And then, of course, Texas Southern has shown everybody that they're ready to play down the stretch as they beat Jackson State 80-70. Your Panthers took it on the chin to Alcorn State, losing that game 73-65. And then, of course, everybody was wondering whether or not Valley was for real about winning. Arkansas Pine Bluff said no, and beat them 78-69. Then that brought us up to last night, where Grambling was able to win their outright championship by beating Bethune 69-60. Then here's the upset: Alcorn State go on the road and beat Texas Southern, a team that was poised to move up to that number 2 spot. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Southern took care of Florida A&M. So that just left the men. That just left the men out there with Grambling leading it, Southern and Alcorn State at 11-5, Texas Southern at 11-6, and so that's going to be even more fire for Texas Southern in the matchup that's coming up on Saturday. You know, you all don't put Prairie View and Texas Southern going to end that regular season in the best way that you can do it in a rival game. And so that's going to be very important in terms of seeding. And I know Coach Johnny Jones is going to have those guys ready to play. And
right.
Yep.
Right. You know, one of my concerns, and we had talked about it a little bit last week, the Pine Bluff loss was a devastator, but then the loss to Valley was a knockout blow. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, would the Panthers even be mentally prepared to finish out this season, or would they be dead men walking? And thus far, it is somewhat showing it on this last homestand against Alcorn and Jackson. And then you do have the rival deal. The only thing that gives me a glimmer of hope that there's a fighter's chance is that it is a rival game. But this is such a mental strain, not only on the players, but the coaching staff, the fan base, administration. And I'm pretty sure in your years of coaching, and I know the typical answer is to finish strong because you only have one game left. But how do you handle and prepare walking into pretty much a mute situation as you have right now for the Panthers?
Well, what you're doing is you're encouraging those guys that are on that roster that have an opportunity to come back. This is auditioning season. This is them showing you and that coaching staff that, hey, I want to be a part of this. I can help turn this around. And so you leave it up to those kids to be prepared and ready to go and show that they're ready to play and go out. You want to build a little momentum going into the off season, into the recruiting, into the off season workouts. So there's still a lot to play for. And to be honest, in this day and time, you playing for your job. You playing for your job because you've shown this year collectively as a team that we couldn't get it done. So we may have made a mistake somewhere. So
well, I also think to add to that, Coach, is if this was 5 years ago even, that would be a very plausible statement. But with this transfer portal, you got to think now that on a low scale, 50% of these guys are looking forward to getting out of town to go and see what their next landing spot will be.
But here's the bad part about that. There are a lot of programs that did not recruit kids from losing programs. They don't even do it in high school. For years, I did it. If you were in the losing program, there was no chance I was bringing you into my program until I was forced to do it.
Okay.
So you have to take that into consideration too. A lot of people, because all you know how to do is lose. So a lot of coaches don't even fool with kids who come from a losing. They don't recruit players from losing programs. So you got to keep that in mind also.
Well, let me add this in as a little flavor adjustment, if you would. What if it's a losing program, but you got a player or two with shown, proven work ethics, the loyalty to work through diverse situations? Does that add any character points on potentially making an exception to the rule?
Right. They would be an exception, yes.
Okay, because there are some situations where the person, for whatever reason, they made a commitment, they want to see this thing through, and they want to be that change or that agent of change, if you would. And they say, well, look, I'm trying to do all I can, and we get a piece or two here, especially in basketball. So it's real quick to turn a basketball situation around as a comparison to football, baseball situation, or any other team sport. So I definitely hear and feel what you're talking about, man. Ain't no sense in me bringing that old losing spirit to my program to bring it down even further, especially if we're already struggling.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it'll be interesting, and once again, with the way the schedule is set up, final seedings, it's going to come down to the last week. The last game, the last Saturday, will determine our final seedings, and then all roads lead to Birmingham.
All roads lead to Birmingham. All eyes will be on monitors, TVs, and radios on Saturday to see how things go and work out. And I want to remind the folks that are listening that you'll be able to check out all of the SWAC basketball tournament from Birmingham, Alabama, starting March 13th through the 16th, right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We'll have the guru himself, along with Lee Hall and Joshua Davis, giving you play-by-play from sunrise to sunset each and every day. Now, Coach, while we're still talking about the Southwestern Athletic Conference, there's a great momentum, buzz, and let's just say a forecast that there's a potential game-changing move coming from the conference office as far as the basketball format for the 24-25 season. And I'm calling it the 1-2-1 proposal. And that is actually calling for the women to play on Thursdays. You play your traditional doubleheader on Saturday, and then close out with the men on Monday. When you hear that, what resonates through your mind, and how does that really apply in real time on the conference?
Well, when I hear it, I just see dollar signs. I just see it as being a more it'll be more costly to do it that way. I think with double headers, you minimize your expenses. You know, adding another day in there where you got the same crew that has to be paid for game day experience. I'm not so sure if that's the model that we need. All right. I'm also concerned about how's that gonna work for our female programs, our female basketball teams. Now, yeah, you got a couple of female teams in the league that might be able to stand on their own, but collectively, is that a good move? So I don't know. The jury's out on it. There are plenty of leagues. I think Ohio Valley has that same concept. I think that A-Sun has that same concept. I would have to do a little more research, but I don't know. And with our people, when you change things, it messes everything up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how our SWAC fans, I don't know how they would react to that. So I'm hoping that they have put a lot of thought into this before they make that move, because not only do you have that in the horizon, you still got to look at the NC2A talking about expanding. So to have two changes coming, that could create a problem.
Right. Well, it's a classic example of keeping up with the Joneses, if you would, and it does sound nice, and we know that right now there's a huge uptick on women's sports, in particular that of basketball, but would it be something that would be a flash in the pan, or something that could truly sustain itself on its own? And that's where it gets real gray, at least for me, because as you stated, it's hard enough to get that consistent support for women's athletics, in this case basketball. They've experimented with having the men play first and hope they would stay over for the women's game. doing different things. Now, one thing that I think, especially in a rural area, that if you had the games maybe a little bit later on the weekends, that because when people get settled with doing whatever their little local or honeydews on Saturday, they can, rest up a little bit and come to a later event. Maybe instead of starting at 3 o'clock on Saturday, maybe you start the women's game at 5 o'clock, 4:30 on Saturday. I don't know. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds.
Right. Now, the only thing that would help on the men's side, if there's only a single game on Monday, then you could help your men teams out by moving up that start time. Because, most of the time we're not getting on the floor until almost 8 o'clock. Well, you could, you could consistently, if there's only a single game, you're guaranteed to start on time.
Right. Right.
So but that is the only thing that I see that will be a positive for the men coming out of this. And I just feel for some of our female programs, if they split it, because I was a part of a few years back where everybody wanted to try to flip-flop the times, and our women coaches just came and they just begged, no, please don't do that. We don't have to do that. And I understood. Because, the men's program, we were rolling at the time, and, we were playing before full houses, and they didn't want to see those young ladies come out. They see us play in front of a full house, and then when they get out there, you can hear yourself talk. So that we voted it down. We didn't do it. We never participated because I respected the wishes of our women's coaches, and I fought with them. And so Alabama A&M, we never did that.
Okay.
But we got to be very, very careful when we make changes like this, because all athletes want to be loved, and we have to be able to show love to them. But when you're splitting people's pocketbooks in terms of them making decisions financially about attending games, 99% of the time they're going to lean toward those men's teams, and that's not going to be good for the ladies.
Right, and I think that was one of the major concerns about this 1-2-1 format. Is the men game were ending so late, and then as far as travel and everything, getting back as if you're the road team. So it's what they say, 6 in one hand, half a dozen on another, to try to sort this thing out and figure it out. Only other thing I can think of, Coach, is that you can't play. I guess you could play back-to-back games if you did it like in a tournament format. You play back-to-back games. Maybe you play Friday and Saturdays and come on home. Well, I guess you could. I don't know. I really don't know.
No. The formula is there. You Saturday, Monday, I think needs to remain. The only other thing you can look at is both teams go to Thursday, Saturday. It's either way. There's going to be a game during the week where that's going to happen, where you're going to have a travel day to get to the site, and then there'll be another day in there after your game. So it's going to come out in the wash either way. But I don't like that format.
Okay. I'm torn. And I like the Thursday, Saturday. I do like that.
Yep.
But like I said, the travel, you're not going to get around the travel either way you look at it. But that Thursday, Saturday, the kids are back home in most cases on Sunday, where they can, recoup and get back on track for their classes or whatnot. That might be the antidote, Coach. That just might be the antidote.
No, they know the answer to this, but they know that you can't do it. Oh, if you charter flights, you wouldn't have to. This not an issue.
Okay.
It's not an issue. You charting flights, this is not an issue at all.
Okay.
But no one can afford to do that. It's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
You play the game. You back at home the same night. So what's the problem?
Right. Right. Hop on, hop off, right?
Yep.
Well, we know that you say the cost is the main driving force.
Yes.
And I don't know, can you do hubs like they do these roundups for volleyball? I don't know, Coach.
No, that's not going to work for basketball because you bring in 3 or 4. Look how the length of our games. That's not going to work. That wouldn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as they say, to be continued, and we'll keep an earmark on it to see how things develop. And as we're speaking about things that are developing, Coach, we know that the NCAA has been talking about expansion.
Yep.
Right now it's at 68. They were talking about 96, but after they had a powwow, they're saying that 96 would be a bit too extreme, and even 80 would be a bit of a reach. So they're settling now on potentially presenting 76 teams. And my question to you is, do you see this being a good move for the sake of the NCAA?
Yes, I do, and I'm going to tell you what that move will make. It puts more emphasis on the regular season because I think your AQs, your automatic qualifiers, instead of being your tournament champions, will now become your conference champions. So that body of work during the entire season means more. Whereas now in the one bid league, everybody has to gear up for the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the regular season is an aftermath because you can win the regular season and still not go because you're a one bid league. So it puts more emphasis on regular season. A lot of people were scrambling for that and wanting that. Well, if they expand, that's going to be the next move, that the regular season champion will be your automatic qualifiers.
Okay, and in the case of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, we're only a one bid conference, right?
Correct.
So would it even make sense to continue on with your tournament?
Yes, because you could be in a situation where a team needs a couple more wins. I think it eventually roll around to where if you got a great team, they might allow another team, your second team in. I think I can see that happening. Yep.
Okay.
So you need the tournament to add more victories. Yep.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you look in the case on the women's side with Jackson State, obviously head and shoulders in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were to stumble in the tournament, this situation could potentially help them to stay alive for the tournament. Now, the question is, if the tournament winner has customarily been a 16 seed, does that potentially boost them up, or do you just have 2 16 seeds in different regions?
Right. Yeah, I think that's what they end up doing. But it's going to be a wait and see. Yep. Okay.
Well, as this thing is unfolding, now I know you're pretty heavy in the world of college basketball, man. Who you need to talk to tell them go on and make this thing happen?
Well, I think our commissioner have a lot to say about it, but it was already in the works. I think this is they're reading the pulse of the basketball world. I think it's going to happen.
Okay.
You know, expansion has been on their lips for about 5 or 6 years now, so I just think it's going to happen.
Now, one thing I need to revisit on, Coach, you and I thought that the NIT would be safe. The whispers are going on now that there's another potential group to challenge the NIT as far as postseason play. How do you see all this develop?
Money would determine a lot of things, and I think whoever has the bankroll, I think that's who's going to come out on top. And you know what? It's healthy to have competition.
Okay.
It's healthy to have competition.
Now,
these TV rights and media rights and stuff, they mean a lot. They carry a lot of weight.
Right. Now, do you see this potential competitor neutralizing or knocking out NIT?
I see it neutralizing it. I don't think it's going to knock it out. I don't think they're going to, NC2A, when they partner with the NIT, I think they were very serious about that.
Uh-huh.
You know, they partner with the NIT, so I don't see them turning their nose up on the NIT.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
they're just going to open it up for more competition, that's all.
It's the old infamous words of Jerry Maguire, show me the money.
Yep.
And we will make it happen. Well, Coach, it's another roller coaster week of events. We got all kind of things coming down to the wire over the weekend. And now, will you be in the saddle this weekend, sir, calling these games for the Bulldogs?
Yes, sir. I'm testing myself. I've got the Thursday game already scheduled, the Saturday game already scheduled. In between that, on Thursday midday until mid-afternoon, I'll do 2 games. And then on Friday, I'll have 3 games with the Alabama Junior College. I normally do that every year, and I've already made my commitment to that. I'm a little banged up. I'm just slow. They just put a caution light up to slow me down. That's all. So we're still moving forward. So I look forward to this week, because what this week will do, me going Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, will help me to get ready for the SWAC tournament. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, the old saying, I might not be kicking high, but I'm still kicking, right?
There we go. Yes, sir.
Well, look, sir, we're coming to the end of this week's session. I want to give you some closing thoughts and comments as we continue to roll on.
Well, Dr. President, this has been an amazing year, another great year in the SWAC, another great year of friendship with you and the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And I just look forward to us finishing strong at the SWAC tournament. I'm looking forward to being there with Lee and Josh. And I want to continue to encourage you to do what you're doing, because the message and the format is really needed. And I want to encourage you to continue your assignment, sir.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We want you to continue getting your rest and working up that stamina at the same time, if that's even possible. But we know if there's a gym close, you're going to be somewhere hanging around it. Yeah. You know, the official definition of a gym rat, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, we definitely appreciate you. He is our basketball expert guru, Coach Van Pettaway. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. You can follow me on X at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, and do visit our website, obnradio.com, for our 24-hour content on the streaming side. And don't forget, March 13th through the 16th, you can join in with us right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network by visiting the website, obnradio.com. Click on Listen Live link for the Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball tournament from Birmingham, Alabama. I've got to exit stage left right now. My time is far spent. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.